Hello, everybody. Welcome to Microbrew, Milwaukee Brewers chatter from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. The Brewers went 4-2 this week against the Toronto Blue Jays and Cincinnati Reds. Snoop Dogg was there to see it on Saturday. That's the biggest story of the week, Curt. You, Curt Hogg, for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, you got your picture taken with the Dogfather on the day before Father's Day. You got your picture with Snoop Dogg. Tell me everything. The vibe seems so immaculate this week. Tell me everything that you have about Snoop Dogg visiting American Family Field.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy H-O-double-G.
From the LBC.
Coming at you from the Greenfield MKE 414. I implore you to listen to us some more. Give us 5 stars. That was a really
There's
loose
a lot.
rhyme, but
some good rhymes there, yeah.
But Snoop was also trying to rhyme with Chourio in the booth, so I feel like I have the license to be a little liberal with some of the rhymes. JR, it was awesome.
Yeah, you got to meet Snoop Dogg. That's crazy.
I mean, driving into the ballpark, like this was kind of a last second thing, relatively speaking. I passed someone and they're like, Snoop Dogg's coming. I'm like, no. Sure enough, Snoop Dogg was coming. So I decided I never go down to the field like right before the game. I'm just sitting in the press box. There's no point in me being down there.
No.
It's a weird experience being down there when all the players are like in uniform and getting ready for the game and they got their game faces on and whatnot. Like that's just not what I'm used to. Second, just like being out on the outside of the dugout with Snoop standing there, like smiling, tossing a ball back and forth to himself. I mean, he was just vibing, and therefore everyone else is just vibing. It's grade 80. No, it's not even grade 80. It breaks the scale in terms of aura. Like you can't get better than just like being in the general vicinity of Snoop. So just to start there, it was like, this is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I like doing this for my job, quote unquote job. And then we ran into him like right at the elevators. We went a different way than he and his posse did. And then they were FaceTiming Bob Uecker. And then we waited for them. We were right by the elevator and like, Snoop, we can get a pic, right? And it's like,
yeah,
of course. And so I thought he was taller, not gonna lie. I thought Snoop Dogg was taller.
He does strike me as quite tall, but
he does strike as a tall person. Your boy dwarfed him.
Curt, I'm proud of you.
The H-O-double-G is taller than the D-O-double-G.
Yes, Curt. Yes.
Snoop Hoggy Hog coming at you live.
Snoop Hoggy Hog. Oh, put it on a t-shirt. We have to have it.
Snoop Hogg.
Snoop Hoggy Hog. I love that.
It was just awesome. My brother-in-law plays in a band. He tours with an artist named Ben Rector. Who did an artist named Ben Rector.
An artist named Ben Rector that no one's heard of. Sure.
That's fine. That's not the point. The point is he did a song with Snoop Dogg. And so there's some like lines that it's a relatively unknown Snoop Dogg song.
Nice.
Considering most Snoop Dogg songs are pretty mainstream. So I said one of the lines to him as we were parting our ways, and he got a little laugh out of it, and that kind of made my life. Was I funny, or was Snoop Dogg just like on the goods and having a good time? I don't know. Either way, it's cool with me. It's cool with me either way. Snoop Dogg rocked.
So
we're 4 minutes into the cast, and we haven't even talked baseball yet. But Snoop was here.
Who cares? Baseball. I want to hear a Ben Rector Snoop Dogg collab. Is that somewhere
It's called I think it's called Sunday by Ben Rector.
I will find that. Those are two very disparate musical oeuvres.
It's a bop though. Like it's a really I really like that song. It's kind of bizarre, but it works.
I am here for that. I'm going to listen to it as soon as this podcast is over, when presumably we will talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Brewers. But Snoop Dogg was there on Saturday. He had a show at the Potawatomi Casino, I believe later that night, right?
Yeah, so that's why he was here. Yep.
Exactly. Throughout the first pitch, hung out with players. The players were geeked up about it, went into the booth and did broadcasting for a couple innings. Let me tell you, that was the only
which was maybe the best part. Yeah, that
100%. That was like the story in baseball on Saturday.
For the viewer, that was the best part.
Incredible.
Now, of course, this is a podcast where we just care about ourselves.
Yes, and you got a picture with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
and
but for everyone else, the play-by-play was freaking awesome.
Of all the jokes we made to each other this weekend, how did Curt Hogg not hit my brain until just as we were talking about it? I mean, it's so easy. It's so
You must not have seen my caption on Twitter. I was really proud of it. Really proud. You were busy with softball.
That's right. As all
softball.
My Father's Day weekend. By the way, happy Father's Day to you and yours.
Happy Father's Day to you.
Yes, it was spent in Green Bay at a softball tournament, kind of our first away tournament. There was rain on Sunday, which definitely pushed everything back a little bit. It's okay. We didn't actually, I didn't get back super late or anything, but it was, it's been busy. I'm happy it's over. I'm walking around with a dad joke shirt. Alpaca my bags for adventure or something like that. I don't even know what it says, but it's got an alpaca on it. Oh, what does that say? Best dad ever. That's your shirt for the day.
Yeah, I was beefing with some. I wore this to the game today. I was beefing with some players, some people around the stadium. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I got the shirt.
You got the shirt.
It's what it says. What it says. Sorry.
It's got to be true if you have the shirt. I did take my daughter to Bay Beach in Green Bay.
Ooh.
Shouts to the ultra cheap, beautiful experience of the permanent carnival at Bay Beach. We did ride the Zippin' Pippin, which is kind of the main attraction a couple times. That was a good one. Father's Day. Yeah, it was all right.
So before we move from the Snoop discourse, I think we have to put it out in the universe that if the Brewers do a certain thing and make it to a certain series in October/November,
a series that is notable around the world,
around the globe. It's global
series.
Global
if they
baseball
do
games, Snoop got to come back.
Snoop's got to come back.
They got to have him come back and throw out the first pitch because the vibes you can't lose.
Mandatory. It has to happen. You can't lose. The Brewers not only won on Saturday, they won Sunday dramatically. I would say so. Had a couple dramatic games this week. There was some nails bitten this week in the two series victories, which of course we are going to talk about eventually. But Snoop Dogg is just the most important thing that happened this week. So that's where we're at. At the end of this conversation, I have an interview with Danny Jansen. He is not a Brewer. He's a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. He did have an RBI double in the series in a Blue Jays victory. He also came up in a big spot. He was part of this rally in the ninth inning that almost somehow didn't cost the Brewers a game on Wednesday. He is from Appleton, Wisconsin. He's the second longest tenured current Blue Jay. He's been there a while now, since 2018, and caught up with him, talked about his career. He's a free agent. He's going to be like the biggest catching free agency, not a deep class. He's going to be about as big as a name as there is on the market. So talked to him a little bit before one of the games in that series with Milwaukee. Let's talk about what we saw this week, Curt. It was a good week. It was a good week, and I think I want to start positive because I actually I do have a couple things that are a little bit of a downer that I want to go into about a couple key players. But the positive here was what we saw on Sunday. Just incredible stuff. And out at the plate to end the game, Blake Perkins, who made, I think he's comfortable if we say it, one of the most boneheaded plays of the year on Friday to end the game as the final out, allowing the Reds to sort of thwart a Brewers rally. He comes up big, throwing from center field, and gets the runner out at the plate, Stuart Fairchild, allowing the Brewers to preserve a 5-4 victory on Sunday. That has them back up at 13 over 500, the highest watermark of the season, and just a crazy story of redemption. And I mean, I think this allows us to talk a little bit more about Blake Perkins in general. The season he's had is incredible defensively. Offensively, he's quite a bit better than I thought he would be. And I think maybe some people realize he does love those bunts, and that cost him on Friday, but he has been so special in the field, and his arm isn't even the thing that makes him special, but he gets this out at the plate. I mean, that's like a prepackaged perfect ending, Curt, right? Like the whole redemption arc that lasts over the span of 3 days. You can't beat that. And Blake Perkins has just, I mean, he's been super important to the Milwaukee Brewers this year.
Yeah, the great thing was I didn't have to write the story. It wrote itself.
That's true.
I sat down at my computer and the keys
AI
slammed themselves down in cohesive and coherent order.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a story out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we got to start because you need to start with the Friday bunt. You
got to get the bad before the good. We love the bad.
Sunday play discussion.
Okay. So Sunday or Friday.
I don't hate the idea of bunting there, actually.
You don't.
I don't hate it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Not
Can
when
you justify this for me like I'm 5? Because I can't conceive of it.
Blake Perkins is a really good bunter.
Okay.
Like really good.
Okay.
And for the most part, it's not just he's a good bunter, he's a good his bunt decisions are good in terms of the pitch quality and the timing of it. What I think ended up burning him was the mindset and all, that sort of thing behind it. Like he did not want the smoke right there. And he said so. Like refreshingly candid, maybe after the game, like almost alarmingly so, like to say he didn't want the moment. That's not what you want in a guy, but it's a reminder, JR, that like these are human beings.
Yeah.
And that moment, it snuck up on him and it got the most out of him, or most of him. And like that's not great, but I think you do have to like give him credit for facing the music on that and like being honest about it. We want honesty and transparency and like the real thing out of these dudes. And that's what you got. Like he messed up, he screwed the game, and then he faced the music and like not just faced the music, but owned up to like being a human in that moment.
Yeah.
So that, like that on top of the bunt, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, made it like smooth it over a little bit more. I mean, it was still a really bad bunt. And like the moment got too fast on him, and I think that impacted the bunt as well. But I don't hate it. You get a bunt down, you're really good at it. You tie the game, even if you don't win it on the next batter. Guess what? You've used all their good relievers. You've got all your good relievers pretty much available because you had an off day the day before, right? And you hadn't used any of them in that game, right? They like used Hobie Milner and those guys to get it to the 9th inning. So I don't hate it. Don't like it at all. I think the Brewers honestly need to bunt a little less, which
they love to bunt.
They like it worked for them on Sunday too in one spot, but like Bryce Terang even showed bunt in a 3-1 count, and it's like that's not a pitch to bunt. So I don't know. I'm sorry. This has now devolved into bunting discourse. Get me back on track with Blake Perkins, please.
No, I'm actually going to keep leaning into this. So on Wednesday, we'll even go back to Wednesday. He had a bunt that was one of the most perfect things I'd ever seen. It rolled up the third
bunt
baseline.
Deserved better fate.
It hit a pebble like just before hitting third base. I mean, it was a hit the whole way. He was already out first, and it just took a last-second veer and went foul. So, but it illustrates your point. He's an extraordinary bunter. He is. And what he was saying, to set the scene, the Brewers had the bases loaded, 1 out, down 2 runs. A run was already in. They were still down 2 runs to the Reds. They Jackson Chourio single, 1 run scores. Jake Bauers gets thrown out at the plate. Pat Murphy, in conversation with you, later admitted that was probably the wrong guy to pinch run because Oliver Dunn is faster, and it just seemed like he wanted to make the straight sub first baseman for a first baseman. It was Rhys Hoskins that he was subbing for, and Jake Bauers was just not the guy there, and he ends up getting thrown out at the plate. So that leaves you with second and third 2 outs. That's when Blake Perkins comes up. He bunts, he pops out. It's conceivable that he can bunt for a hit there and get the runner home, but I like the perfection required, as good as Perkins is at bunting, to A, reach first, B, not get the guy thrown out at the plate. And again, that only ties the game. That just seems like such a reach. And what you're saying is him not trying to be the hero. He acknowledges he's not that great offensively. And you've got one of the best contact hitters on the team, if not the best, and Bryce Terang right after him. And, maybe that's the guy to drive in the winning run. I just flashed back to his previous at bat where he had gotten a single, battled in the count and gotten a single. Blake Perkins can do that too. And, maybe they lose anyway. Maybe they go down swinging regardless. It was a really rough look after they had so much cooking, and it ended in such a thud with the guy getting thrown out at the plate and the pop bunt, basically back-to-back bad decisions.
An all-time thud of an end, honestly.
It was really bad, like really, really bad, and made up for by what transpired after, but still really bad.
This is a tangent time, but Blake Perkins, like facing his fallibility as a baseball player, like as a human, got me thinking. What other times do players go up there thinking I am screwed? Jesse Winker in the playoffs, like that. Like that dude could have been walking up there thinking anything was going to happen positively.
Yeah, I think it happens way more than we think it
Yeah,
does.
like
These
this
guys
is
are
not
not
gonna go
idiots.
well. No,
They are
please,
confident.
please, dear God, don't pinch hit me here. No, no, no. Oh,
Yeah.
no, no. Oh, no.
I mean, these guys are all very confident, but they're also not idiots. They know when, like, yeah, I'm not the guy you want up here. You want the guy after me up here. So let me just try to get on. We could tie the game maybe. And if not, maybe it doesn't have to be that perfect bunt and the guy retreats to third. Okay. As long as Perkins makes it to first, you've left the door open for Bryce Terang to do the damage. It just didn't fit the moment. And, like you said, it's
But
maybe not.
Sunday, JR. Sunday, he made up for it.
Just incredible stuff on Sunday that he had the chance. I was not watching it live. I was listening on the radio. Bob Uecker called it a pop-up, which I
Pop-up.
presumed was the end of the game.
He was right.
It was a pop-up. It was then a base hit. And then Perkins threw home. It had to be reviewed. There was some question about William Contreras' health. It was
that's the other storyline here, right? Is like, how's William Contreras? We'll find out more late on Monday because it's a West Coast trip.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we'll find out more. I'm curious to see how that ends up. Like, is the concussion and then going on a plane thing, is that real? I don't know.
I would not want to be on an airplane with a concussion for sure. I would not want to be anywhere near an airplane.
The players sounded. We didn't get to talk to Contreras, but the players sounded optimistic about it, that he was in good spirits and seemed like himself and seemed normal. But
you got to check it.
You got to check it. You never know.
And if he can't play for 5-6 days, that's just the way it goes. That's just
Eric Haas.
Eric Haas finally would get a chance in this scenario to step foot on a field for the Milwaukee Brewers, man. If you had told me, I mean, Chris Roller, James Meeker, there's so many guys who have made appearances for the Brewers and Eric Haas is not among them. That is some crazy stuff. I can't believe it. But here we are at this point on June 17th. So yes, Blake Perkins throws the guy out at the plate. I tried looking it up. I was unsuccessful. I kind of did it quickly and couldn't quite figure out the right parameters to figure out the last time the Brewers recorded an out at the plate for the final out. It happened to them last year when they were facing the Cubs. It was a game in extras. Owen Miller was sent home and ended up getting thrown out pretty easily with the final out of the game. That was a extraordinarily frustrating game. I believe that was on July 4th, July 3rd or July 4th. It was that weekend. And just kind of one of the worst losses of the year last year. Obviously, all that gets forgotten over the course of the season.
Do you think that was the game where Craig decided he was going to the Cubs?
No. Is that also? I believe that's also the game where David Ross complained about the roof.
No, I think that was the day before.
It could be.
The Brewers came back. The Brewers came back in one of those games, and they won. It was like 8-0, and they won. Yeah. And David Ross was angry pants in that game. Think Craig Counsell would complain about the roof now?
Sure. Craig Counsell, he's having a real bad time.
It's digression. The Cubs are poo-poo.
They're bad.
I wonder if he regrets it right now. Do you think he regrets it?
No.
If winning is the utmost thing that you want,
then you comfort yourself with the bank account. That's what you do.
Resetting the market.
I don't think he does regret it because of this. Well, maybe, I don't know, but like Craig Counsell is a big picture guy. We could go back in time and show you all the Brewers teams that were at 500 or below 500 at this point in the season and rallied late. Now, I don't know if Craig Counsell is solely.
Have they done that and made the playoffs once, like at 500 at this point of the year?
Yeah.
Last year was close. Last year was close.
I think, I don't know about exactly 500 or below 500, but like he's a big picture manager. You have to let the big picture play out before you decide it's not working. Now, that said, Pat Murphy has the second most wins of any debut manager at this point in his career or in the season behind Harvey Keene, which also famously, by the way, was a 500 team right around this time of year and ended up turning it on big time when they got Harvey Keene in house and ended up going to the World Series. So, great start for Pat Murphy. I mean, it's a weird division. The Brewers are 6.5 games up as we head into the new week onto a West Coast trip to Los Angeles and San Diego. And it's a great place to be because nobody else in the division is rising up to this point, but someone will, Curt. One of those 4 teams is going to rise up. I don't know if it's the Reds. The Reds don't particularly impress me either.
I'm going to say no, they're not. This division stinks. The Brewers are going to have to come back to everyone else.
Say it.
If it's going to be a race.
The Brewers are going to run away with this division. Let's just say it, right? We want that in the ether?
I'm not going that far on the ether.
I still don't even believe in this team.
This is their division to lose. They're good. It's a good baseball team. It's like the pitching staff and the roster doesn't necessarily scream it, but
Yeah,
I don't know. They do every little thing well, basically. Like
it's true.
the margins go deeper than you even think the margins go. Like, oh, they went on the margins. Yeah, they've got like this Blake Perkins guy. They've got they get Yoel Piamps in a throw-in. Like, yeah, that's true. And then they also like have Quentin Berry in the dugout telling Blake Perkins, "Hey, move to your left and move in." And sure enough, the ball's hit right there, and he throws the guy out at home. Like, there's so many margins.
Remember,
And
too, the
they
inning before that, he makes a sliding catch on Jonathan India, which could have been a disastrous moment in the game,
that
too.
play was harder than I think he made it look. That was a
Yeah, that could be.
rocket.
It was a rocket. I immediately off the bat, that's a hit. That's got to be a hit. Nope, not a hit. So incredible stuff. We need to move along because we've been talking too much already. Let's talk about this pitching staff, though, that you're just referring to. They've had some really good performances from guys that have been doing this all year. Colin Ray had a really good start. Bryce Wilson had another solid start. He's up and down, but he's mostly up. But Freddy Peralta, man, it's been real rough. Freddy Peralta is presumably the ace of this staff. He had another bad outing against the Reds. He insists that he's healthy. Pat Murphy has talked about maybe the weight of expectations of being the number one guy on the staff is getting him down a little bit. I have a real hard time believing he's healthy. I just don't think results combined, the velocity and the results don't scream that right now. But like he also started the game against the Reds looking kind of nasty in the first couple innings. So it's not like he's completely devoid of flashes of old Freddy. But their biggest problem right now in the rotation might be that the guy that they're really counting on hasn't been that guy. What are you seeing with Freddy Peralta? What are the red flags? What are the real concerns here?
This feels a lot like the first half last year when something was just off. Was he tipping pitches, whatever? Because the stuff looked as good as ever. The velocity was good as ever. I mean, the velocity was pretty much back in this start on Friday, so you're not as concerned about the health anymore, at least for now. And his execution wasn't even terrible on Friday. Like, he's executed really poorly in a few starts. Like, I think of the Astros start, the White Sox start, the Tiger start. So basically his most recent starts have been pretty stinky and locating and pitch selection and all the above. It's just bizarre once again that like the fastball was hit around as hard as we've really ever seen it by the Reds on Friday. Like, that just doesn't happen. And it's happening now. I will say he was sitting in the clubhouse with Chris Hook looking over some iPads on Sunday morning, which to me is always like what's the opposite of a red flag? And don't say green flag.
I don't know.
It might be green flag, but you know what I mean? Like, a red flag is an alarm bell. What's the opposite? That like shows you that things might actually be about to be figured out. Because I feel like whenever I see Chris Hook sitting down with the iPad and a starting pitcher, they figure that thing out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Once again, that's the margins. We'll see. I mean, they need Freddy Peralta to be good. Like, this team can win a lot of games without Freddy Peralta being elite. They've shown that. But when push comes to shove, who's your guy? Who's your number one? Who's starting at game one? Who's getting the ball in the big spots in the playoffs? It's Freddy Peralta. And they need him to be better. I mean, flat out. He's got an ERA higher than Tobias Myers, higher than Bryce Wilson, a whole run higher than Colin Ray. They need him. They need him to be better.
Yeah, I agree with you. 4.38 ERA. That's the highest by far, going back to 2020 when he really started to lock in. That's just nothing like what we've seen. His whip is higher than it's ever been. His FIP is still okay. It's still 3.79, which tells me there's he's still a good pitcher. He's not a lost cause, at least from what we've seen so far, but he's had some really outstanding outings too. You said he's the guy to get the ball in game one. Well, I don't know if I believe that, because I don't know if the guy who's going to get the ball in game one is on this roster. Now, that might be an optimistic.
Logan Henderson.
That is not
Come
what I
on
was going with.
now.
That's not what I was going with.
Wake
Although I
up,
do.
babe. New Craig Yoho just dropped.
Oh my gosh, Logan Henderson, guys. The Brewers they have pitching prospects coming out of their ears right now, which is a good place to be. It's just none of them are big league ready yet, which is the problem. It leans into my next question, which is about the trade deadline. Not super far away at this point. We have certainly crossed the threshold into trade deadline season. Think pieces of who's available. It's never the guy you think you're going to get. It's never the guys who you expect to move that move. But still, there's a couple obvious starting pitcher candidates on the open market, and I just can't imagine a year. We haven't seen a year like this where the Brewers are that much in need of one particular thing. Now, I don't think that necessarily means that they go get the one particular thing, because to me, I do feel like in the playoffs, your starting pitching matters less. That it's more about the guys that could just go 4 innings and let your bullpen cook. I don't know if they can make it through the regular season without better options in the starting rotation. And yet here they are in the middle of June, and they have done it. They are 13 games over 500. So who am I to say that they need Garrett Crochet or Jesus Luzardo to walk through that door? Because they haven't so far. Why would they feel the need to give so much up in prospect capital to make that happen? So my question to you is a starting pitcher for sure going to happen, do you think? Do you think they're absolutely going to go out and get one?
I love that point from you. I'm all in now. You just changed my mind with 1 point. I'm all in. Let's see this thing go completely counter to what you expect. The Brewers need starters. The Brewers need starters. The Brewers need starters. No, we know what they need. They need to throw all their relievers all game in the playoffs.
Yes, let's do that. Yes. It's worked before, Curt. This is a formula that has worked for them.
Let's talk.
Relievers start the games now. Jared Koenig has started 6 games this year.
I mean, would it really be a bad plan to go, okay, we'll have Jared Koenig open depending on the opponent. Jared Koenig open. Colin Ray, you can go 3-4 innings. All right, and then we'll turn this thing over to Craig Yoho and Peguero and Piamps, and then Brian Hudson will get 6 outs.
Devin Williams still to come.
And then Piamps and McGill and Williams. Is that a bad
idea? Who's going to hit that?
Is that a bad idea? Mizrowski? If he figures his crap out?
He's not happening this year. It's over. I asked that earnestly. They could easily do that in the playoffs.
They absolutely need starters. Yes. But on the other hand, what if you can win this division without it and without sacrificing immense prospect capital? That's the tricky question, is how much does one starter, even if it's a really, really good starter, lift your ceiling this year? And then, maybe it's not just about this year. Maybe it's about next year too. You get Garrett Crochet, Jesus Luzardo, a guy like that. Maybe they navigate in those waters. Maybe there's just a deal that they think is really good. There's some prospects that another team's really high on that they're not really high on. There's just a lot of variables here, but I love the thought of just going full effort mode with the pitching staff, and then just trying to figure it out game to game.
Well, there's also the team to do it. There's also the aspect of this team is within shouting distance, and not even that. They're within distance of being one of the top 2 seeds in the NL. Obviously, it's super early and lots going to happen, but they are 2 games behind the Dodgers. They're 5 games behind the Phillies. Phillies, I think, have a little bit of come back to earth in them, so I don't necessarily think they're going to run away with this. The Braves obviously are still very much a decent team there, but only one of those teams is going to outpace the Brewers for one of those top 2 spots. And then it's about catching the Dodgers, which I would never even dream of coming into the season. But maybe the Brewers feel like, look, that's going to put us in better position if we can get a first round playoff bye. Now, you could also go back to last year and see the 2 teams that had a first round playoff bye who did not get into the NLCS. So maybe that doesn't mean anything to them, to the point that they would trade for a starting pitcher, which is going to cost big time. There's going to be big time assets that have to go out the door. I don't know. It's been a long time since they went and got a real starting pitcher. I mean, Jordan Lyles, you're a good guy and you did great things, but that's not what I'm talking about here. That's not the type of trade acquisition I'm talking about here. So I don't know. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think they were going to do that, or do you just not trust that?
I'm inclined to say they'll get some help, but I'm inclined to say it's not going to be one of the big guys. The market this year is going to be interesting. There's so many available starters. There's a couple teams on the fringe, see what they do with their guys, like a Nick Pivetta. I think we talked about last episode maybe, but there's so many starters available, but they're condensed in just a few teams. And like the entire National League is kind of in it. So there's just like, are the Brewers going to be the team that ponies up the most for one of these guys when there's so much competition for them? A lot of that sometimes comes from ownership. And that's difficult to predict, I think. So I haven't seen it in the past. Maybe there's a push, trade these 19-year-olds. Let's get a guy, that could come from ownership too, but I just don't know.
I went back and listened to one of our, but I went back and listened to an old podcast going into the 2022 season and listened to some of the names that we floated as guys be perfect fits for the. I'm not going to out you. We've got plenty of time to go back and relitigate how wrong we were.
No.
Here's something I said though. I won't come out and just say that you definitely thought Jose Abreu would be a great fit for the Brewers. But here's what I said.
I stand by that. Actually, I stand by it. Maybe not 3 years. I wouldn't have said give him 3 years.
Yeah, it would have been a train wreck.
Holy smokes, that went poorly.
Absolute train wreck. The thing I said that it was like I said something to the effect of, it feels like if you're going to go all in, this is the year to go all in. And honestly, it wasn't, because like 2023, they didn't go all in and they won the division kind of handily. So, which isn't to say that they could have gone all in and maybe had a better showing in the playoffs. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Go back to the Braves and the Dodgers, both losing before the NLCS last year. You can have the best team and not have a good playoff showing. That's just how it works. So in the moment, you always feel like this is the year to go in. This is the one. This is the time. They don't have any options after this, but I don't think that's true. I think they're set up for several years of success. And if they can make this formula work with the pitching staff, then it can work the rest of the way. I mean, it's so crazy that this is working, and I keep waiting for the cliff to come, and it has not come. They are continually finding a way. So I don't know if they do need a Garrett Crochet, but I don't know. Man. It's hard to say.
Yeah, no one knows anything. We know nothing.
We're terrible.
Other than it's probably usually never a good idea to go all in, especially for the Brewers. Like, that's just not I don't think that's wise.
Yeah, we know nothing.
It might be the better word.
Yes. Why are you listening to us? We don't know what we're talking about. Let's talk about Sal Frelick, though. Outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers, left-handed hitter. Very exciting start to his career last year in 2023. Fizzled down the stretch. And Curt, I got to say, I think most of the year he's fizzled. Now, this is the weird time to say it. He had a nice day on Sunday. He was a very key contributor. He had his bobblehead day on Saturday. He did not play in his bobblehead day. This happens. This is just how it is. Going back to the days of Bob Wickman, when they had poster night the night after he was traded from the Milwaukee Brewers. Bob Wickman poster night. Great commemorative item if you got your hands on that back in, was that 1999, I think? Oh, I'm old. But Sal Frelick is struggling so much. His OPS is 662. That's 30 points south of where he was last year when we again said that he struggled. He's not hitting for power. He doesn't hit the ball that hard. That's just part of the profile. But I know they love him. I think at this point they probably have options besides him. Now that's not abundantly clear because Joey Wiemer is hurt at AAA and wasn't performing anyway. I don't think Joey Wiemer might be the plans at all anymore for 2024 at this point.
Is he even on the radar for a long time? Speaking of being wrong.
Yeah, we missed a little bit on Joey Wiemer. Obviously, a lot of time. He's very young.
We can do a whole podcast about that one. That miss.
That went south in a hurry.
We don't need to get into that one right now.
Pat Murphy said this week that Garrett Mitchell's return is basically they're just going to take their time, which has been sort of the MO with Mitchell coming off of injuries anyway. But that kind of is a little different than what we started with when he first went into Arizona for some rehab starts. It sounded like that was going to happen quickly. And at this point, I think it makes with Chourio heating up, I think it's like obvious when Mitchell's coming back, Frelick goes down. Pat Murphy loves Sal Frelick, it seems. The team loves him. I mean, he is one of their best prospects. He's one of the guys you kind of hoped to count on. I think they have guys who can do better than him right now. I don't know why he's here. I don't know why they haven't moved him back to Nashville. And I say that very bluntly, but like, obviously I think he's awesome. I'd love to see him realize the potential. And he's obviously really cool. He's really good to us. And I'd love to see him perform well. It's just not happening this year. And I'm really surprised they're holding on as long as they have. What do you think is going on?
I think your take is going to be in a world of hurt when Mitchell's ready to come back. It's not going to be Frelick.
Who's it going to be?
Oliver Dunn.
Oh, okay.
The guy who is left-handed and never plays.
I don't know.
Murph doesn't even pinch run him when he's on the 90th percentile in sprint speed.
I really don't know why Oliver Dunn is here, but also
Someone's got to be.
Yeah,
They
I
are
don't have an
functioning with-
obvious other guy.
They're functioning with 10 players. 11 players. 10 if you don't want to include Jake Bowers, because he's been kind of rough on offense.
He's been bad.
Put
But
it lightly.
we could, but look, we could talk about Bowers too. I mean, you have your model likes Jake Bowers going forward, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, there's a flaw. There's some flaws in there.
Oh, okay.
Look, I'm not the Statcast outs above average people.
No,
Like,
you absolutely are not. You're fighting with them.
There's holes in the model.
Yes.
And there's a hole with Jake Bowers' model, just like his swing on sliders low and in.
But
I don't think
Jake
Sal
Bowers is
Frelick's
the backup.
going anywhere.
Sal Frelick is the guy. Jake
I don't
Bowers
think
is
Sal
the backup.
Frelick's going anywhere because he'll give you some coverage at third base if you need it. They'll keep Monasterio up because he plays everywhere and Murph loves him.
Do we still think third base is happening? I haven't seen it all year. One
No,
time
but it's just coverage. It's just coverage. That's what it is.
I think that's like emergency coverage. I don't think that's a real life. You could play there.
How much has Oliver Dunn played third base? He hasn't.
No, you're right. But again, if he's here,
there's no guarantee Garrett Mitchell hits either.
No, none at all.
What if he doesn't perform?
What is Brewer Hicklin doing? I know he was hurt. He could come up. I don't know. I mean, they're putting Sal Frelick in position to be like he's the fifth hitter in some cases. You know, they really believe in him, and I believe in him too, just not right now. So I feel like there's got to be some way to kind of rediscover
things that Sal does really, really well, and he has seemed to be a little in between on like really leaning into those things this year is maybe the way I would look at it. He's just never going to be a guy that hits the ball really hard. That's just not going to happen.
No, I know that.
But you can still be successful. League average hitter. And you know what? He's like not super far away from it. It just does feel like maybe there's a little bit of batted ball luck right now that's keeping the profile up because there's not like any damage in there whatsoever.
You think it is just a case of some BABIP situation that he could because the easy comparison here is Bryce Terang, a guy who also doesn't hit the ball hard. We know this. And then he turned around and became like Ichiro contact bat, you know, like that's obviously wildly overstated, but he really figured out something. Is that what Sal Frelick has to do? Does he have to be that same guy?
Here's what I'm seeing. I just looked at the numbers and they're kind of backing up the priors on what I think we're seeing with Sal this year. He's walking less than he did last year. He's striking out more, and his BABIP is 317, despite the fact that like he never hits the ball hard. No, you don't have to hit the ball hard to have a high BABIP. Luis Ariz, but Sal Frelick is not that sort of like humpback line drive hitter. He could be, and maybe he will be. Like that's what he needs to be. I just don't know if like he's hit at a level that's worthy of a 317 BABIP. And that's coming in today when he had a couple more blue hits.
Yeah. And he's a corner outfielder, which they haven't needed a thumper, and also no one hits home runs anymore. The ball's dead, so whatever. But like he doesn't hit like a corner outfielder hits. And I feel like if there are going to be, you know, there are still moments, as with every team, there are moments where despite this offense being pretty good, it goes through dry spells. And I feel like finding a way to upgrade there in the corner is the one way to do it. I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more it's like, I don't know if there is someone that I could be sure is going to be better than he is now. You know, like he might legitimately be the best option now that the more we talk about this. Like Brewer Hicklin is interesting, but he's not on the 40-man. He was hurt. He hasn't been a big leaguer all year. So I don't know.
Yeah. The reality with Brewer Hicklin is that Jackson Chourio is the answer.
Yeah.
The answer to the question is Jackson Chourio. And he's starting to figure it out a little bit, and you can see it. Now, can he sustain this for a little bit? That'll be interesting to see. Like, there's just all these adjustments always going on, but you're starting to see some of the flashes of it for sure. And I think that's the answer here.
I think you're right. Big week for Jackson Chourio. He looked fantastic this week. I just believe in him through and through. As rough as his numbers have been, I really think it's gonna be special when things completely click and they're already turning the corner a little bit. One more thing I wanted to say before we get to 3 up, 3 down. No, I think that was it. I think I wanted to talk about Jackson Chourio and what you think is he's doing differently. That's the one. So what do you think he's doing differently?
I thought you were going to say the two most important words in the English language.
Generational talent.
Oh, are we going to that?
3 up, 3 down. 3 up, 3
yes.
down. 3 up, 3 down. Yeah.
Okay. I want to get there now. I'm excited.
Okay, so tell me, Jackson Chourio, what's going on there?
Can we do it? Jackson Chourio, chasing less, swinging and missing less, better swing decisions. Quality contact is fine, still not like amazing, but like the process just is entirely better, and he's like got swagger about it, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Jackson Chourio, looking good. All right.
Let's go to some of the more granular details from the week. It's our weekly look back at the week that was. It's 3 up, 3 down. Curt.
Hello.
Do you think, Curt, that Joey Ortiz is a generational talent?
He might be.
He might be. He is taking names, Curt. Is he an all-star? He's an all-star. Like, he's that caliber.
The Brewers should have multiple all-star starters.
Well, that's not going to happen because that's voting. No one cares. No one.
I know, but Ortiz should start. Contreras should start.
Yes.
Maybe even Yelich.
I think Yelich is in the mix for an outfield spot for sure. I don't think he'll start. He's
enough of a brand name where he might get the votes.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe.
But anyway, what a gift Bryce Wilson's posting. Yeah. I have not checked my mentions or my quote tweets or anything.
Because the Baltimore Hive found this.
Orioles Twitter found the tweet, and then Brewers Twitter found the Orioles tweets, and we're like, you guys are idiots. Please stop talking on the internet. And you know what? I agree. Why are like Orioles so okay? Let's a little context here. Bryce Wilson, after Saturday's game, said that he thinks the Orioles messed up by giving the Brewers Joey Ortiz, and that he's a generational player that can hit and field very, very well. The funny thing about this is Orioles fans got way more upset about the first part than the generational player part.
Saying that the Orioles screwed up. That's the part that they were fixated.
They're like, no. But like, if you think about it, I'm not saying it was a bad trade for them. They traded for Corbin Burns. They might win Cy Young. Great.
Who has shoved? He has shoved all year long.
You're baking a lot into 1 year of a pitcher and like a couple playoff starts. The Brewers got 5 years of this Joey Ortiz cat who, you know what? I don't know if the Orioles knew he was going to be this good. I don't think they did. I think he was kind of an afterthought for them, which is maybe why they traded him and why their fans are like, well, it was a good trade. And you know what it was? It was a win-win trade. But the Brewers absolutely got what they wanted out of this, which is a lot of years of a really, really good player. So I think that's ultimately what Bryce Wilson was saying. It was just packaged in a very, very funny and amazing for the content way. But please, for the love of God, stop fighting in my mentions if you're still doing it.
Oh, not at all. Absolutely continue doing that. Ortiz had the huge 3-run homer on Saturday. That was all the runs. They won 3-1. It was incredible. Another incredible moment for this guy who has been fantastic. He shaved his mustache this week. That did not slow down the mojo. He's very good on defense. He was completely blocked. I mean, he's not playing shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. They got Gunnar Henderson. Like, he's never going to see
Jordan
the field.
Westbrook's pretty good. I mean, Jackson Holiday kid has
pick a spot.
Highly regarded.
That's right. Jackson Holiday right behind him. Like,
he's stinky.
Well, he had
in the big leagues.
It's been tough. Yeah, in the big leagues. I can't believe Joey Ortiz has worked out this well. You know, like, I didn't think he would make the big league roster right away. I thought he was like going to be a guy that got promoted pretty early in the season when they traded
him. You clearly weren't listening to the Microbrew podcast.
I'm not talking about like by the end of spring training. I'm talking about when they made the trade. Like, okay, that's a great guy. Maybe he makes the roster as utility guy, but at least you got that depth. I'm thinking of him as a shortstop, and he's still probably a shortstop, but like he's the reason Willy Adames is going to walk, and the Brewers are going to be like, okay, because we got Joey Ortiz. He's the next shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers. So everything has gone extremely according to plan. For Bryce Wilson to regard him as a generational player, it's a stretch. It's not necessarily what I see, but like, who am I to say?
You know what? This will some Brewers fans are saying, like the Orioles people today. He's just gassing up his teammate. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
And but the quote is so good. And as we've said, we just want the content.
We do. We are content fiends. We love this. We love it all. Please, more. Yes, high praise from Bryce Wilson for his teammate Joey Ortiz after a really nice showing on Saturday. Okay, I'm counting that as my number one. So I don't know if you did a lot of the work there.
Here's something big that we haven't talked about. Carlos Rodriguez's debut was
Oh,
this week.
Carlos Rodriguez. What did you see out of him? You only made it 3 1/3. You only made it 3 1/3.
The Brewers just had their one of their top 10 overall prospects called up and made his debut this week. No biggie.
There's so many pitchers, Curt. Pitchers.
There's not. I mean, you can only take so much away from 3 1/3 in an MLB debut. You only take so much away from an MLB debut anyway. But I thought the fastballs played up better than I expected. If he can pair that with some good sequencing and like some effective secondaries, which is what he has, it's an interesting package. It's an interesting profile. I feel like we said on this podcast, well, the one with Spencer, the minor league one, I think I said Carlos Rodriguez, like it would be a while still.
Yeah. Well, he's 22
but you can only handle so many injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And the dam might have broke.
Yeah, there's no doubt they didn't want him here.
There's just no other options. Like, what is the other option, JR? Aaron Ashby gave up 5 runs in 3 innings today in AAA.
That's too bad. AAA starts for him in a row coming off of his good outing in the big leagues.
What is the other option? It's Logan Henderson. Thank you for answering.
Bring him up. Let's go. I'm ready for this. It's like when, I could picture the guy pitching. He kind of had a stretched out. Ended up getting traded to Arizona. I can't think of his name now. A few years ago, this was stupid of me to try to go down this path, but they've had to do this before when the injuries have struck to like pull guys straight out of AA even, and they can do it. Bradley Blaylock is still in the orbit, although he hasn't been I don't think he's been as successful since he went back down, even though he was on the big league roster but didn't get a chance to pitch. Yeah, they've got some guys, but Carlos Rodriguez really was the best option. And 3 1/3 pitched out of some jams. You know, it's not like Robert Gasser where there is a chance that he goes 6 shutout innings. You know, I don't think we really feel that necessarily, but he's only 22 years old. I can't remember if the last time we potted, if we knew Robert Gasser was probably going to be out for the year, but that's the word from Pat Murphy. And that's pretty tough, you know, because if he's out for the year, it's because he has an injury that might keep him out for next year too. And man, that is tough. He was really, I think, essential. Him and DL Hall, I think, they really banked, I think, on one of them being one of these starters. And the injuries have taken them both off the table. And maybe, are they ever going to come back? Like, is DL Hall going to come back? I'm not positive of that. I sure think so.
If I was the Brewers manager, I would stop answering questions on injuries. So I'm going to stop. I'm not going to answer your question. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I'm getting my 6th opinion this week.
We have so many opinions and no arms. I think the Brewers injury situation, I think fans believe that they are just ravaged by injuries. And I don't think that's true. I think their injuries are in line with other teams. The problem is all their injuries are starting pitchers, like every one, except for like Joey Ortiz being out for a couple games and Yelich and Hoskins earlier this year. And they're both back. Like, it's all starting pitchers. So it feels a lot worse than it is, but it is definitely bad for this one group. Carlos Rodriguez will get another start this week. We'll see how it goes. It was a meh debut. It wasn't the flashiness, of course, of Robert Gasser, but you know, there's room to grow here. He's very young, so we'll see how that goes. What is my number 2? You will ask. Let's go back to Monday. Vlad Guerrero Jr. Got a bat stuck in the netting at American Family Field. He took a swing, the bat went flying, and the bat did not come down. Stuck about 20 feet in the air above the Blue Jays dugout. Phil Rosowitz, the visiting clubhouse attendant, worked with some of the Blue Jays personnel to fashion this giant claw-like structure. Claw is probably too generous. It was a little more makeshift than that, but they were able finally, after 2 innings of that bat stuck in the net for all to see, they were able to get that bat down. I think it was Chris Bassett, Wednesday starter, who ultimately was able to pull it down. There was a lot of cheering. It went up in the 4th, came down in the 6th, and then Guerrero used it in the final 2 at bats, both outs, including the last out of the game, in a game that kind of came down to the wire. It took a really, really nice play from Bryce Terang to end that game. By the way, Bryce Terang, he's so good. I don't even think about it anymore. He's got a couple leaping catches again this week. He just the dude has hops, man. I bet he can dunk really well for a guy who's 6 feet. I bet he can dunk with ease. But anyway, the bat came down. It was a fun little episode. Worked out for the Brewers because the bat made the final out of the game as well. So again, a lot of exciting games this week. A lot of games that really were in doubt in the 9th inning, and that was one of them. So, what do you got for number 2?
How did the Brewers win on Wednesday?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
That should not have happened.
No, they got lucky.
They stranded a bajillion guys in scoring position. That's been the theme all week, actually. I think they had 7 hits with scoring runners in scoring position.
That could be. They went 0 for
They
24 to start that Blue Jays series
they
before Williams Contreras single.
they kind of ran their way into tying the game and then got a couple singles through the infield. And that ninth inning was just a disaster.
Unbelievable.
Even the final two outs were screaming line drives to center field that were generally like right to Blake Perkins. I just have no idea how they snuck that one out still. Like, on the whole, they probably played well enough to deserve to win. But that ninth inning had the makings of a disaster. Could you imagine if they had lost that game and then lost Friday's game the way they did?
Right. Well, and Saturday
The
they could have
roof might
lost
have
too.
collapsed under the weight of people's stress.
Agony. Like Saturday,
Anguish.
Willie Adames made an incredible play for the first out of the ninth on Saturday, and then they were able to pick it up. That could have gone south too. That was a 3-1 game, and they had a runner on, 2 runners on right away. Like, there was definitely a chance they lost that game. It wasn't as bad as Wednesday, but they were definitely this could have been a horrible week. And, couple that with Sunday and how they had to get an out at the plate to end this thing. This could have been a horrible week.
It was a good week.
It was a great week. It was marvelous. Yeah, first 5 batters, I believe, on Wednesday in the ninth reach. The bases were loaded at one point with nobody out, and the Blue Jays down 2. Trevor McGill gets a strikeout of George Springer. Huge strikeout. And then he gets a fly ball from Alejandro Kirk that, quite honestly, is out. I don't – there's a dead ball. Like, there's no other –
the ball was dead. That thing was smoked.
Caught at the wall. And then Vlad Guerrero Jr. comes up as a pinch hitter. And yes, honestly, Vlad's ball looked even more sucked. It looked like that thing should have been 50 feet up on the scoreboard. Just landed safely in Blake Perkins' glove, and ain't no problem. They win by 1. Crazy. Curt, they're so lucky. I don't know how they did that. They've got a lot of wins like that. I tell you what, Blake Perkins, it's so reassuring to have that guy roaming center field, because if it's in the park, he's going to get it. And quite honestly, it's if 95%.
It's out of the park, he has a 90. I'm done here.
We love OAA. Whose turn is it? I'm lost. Was it my turn?
That's yours turn. Yeah, yours turn. Wow. It's your turn.
Wednesday, in addition to having a thrilling ending, had a crazy thing happen. There were 5 runs scored by the Brewers after there were 2 outs and nobody on in an inning. All of the runs that the Brewers scored on Wednesday came in a 2-out rally. And that was including a massive 3-run homer by Willie Adames, which did hit 50 feet up on the scoreboard. That ball was crushed, and I believe it's the longest home run he has hit with the Milwaukee Brewers. Flash forward to Sunday, Willie Adames again with a 3-run homer to give the team the lead. Curt, you thought when they were down 3-0, I know this because I was chatting with you, you thought this was like a possible shutout brewing, and I said no. I said I don't believe it. I believe the Snoop vibes were lingering for another day, and I was right. And Willie Adames, he's as clutch as it gets. Like, it's all these 3-run homers he's hitting. It's crazy.
Oops.
Yes. I just wanted the mea culpa, really, is what I wanted there. All right. So, yes, Willie Adames on the money. Clutch, as always. 2 huge home runs this week once again. What else do you got, Curt, to wrap it up? 3 up, 3 down.
What else do we got to wrap it up beside 2 Colin Ray wins in a week?
Oh, my goodness. That guy.
What more could you ask for from the best pitcher on the Brewers staff?
I don't think that I can say that out of hand, but I can say Colin Ray is the best starting pitcher on this team.
So after his first start last year in San Diego, we were discussing Colin Ray, and I vividly remember answering something along the lines of general like major league vibes, starter vibes. I did not expect this. I don't know. I can't recall whether or not I was lying to myself and the listeners about what I thought about Colin Ray's first start. It didn't look awful, that's for sure, but certainly did not expect this. He's got an ERA under 3.3. He leads the team in innings. He goes 5 to 6 innings every time. We wrote about it this week at the paper. I don't expect it to stay at this level all year, but this is just kind of what that start on Sunday was just kind of what he does.
It was so Colin Ray.
That Monday start, by the way. Through first pitch strike to the final 21 batters he faced. Pretty impressive.
That amazes me that is unbelievable consistency, but also like his fastballs. And you wrote about this at jsonline.com when you really kind of dug deep on Colin Ray's importance. Like, those fastballs by themselves aren't that special.
Kind of stinky.
How do they not get tattooed? But they don't, because his pitch mix is so good. So he could throw 21 first pitch strikes and not have any of them get ambushed. That's
Yeah,
incredible to me.
Colin Ray is also doing some stuff that like we don't exactly quantify. I remember Chris Hook talking to me in the 2023 spring training about I was asking about the late life on Eric Lauer's pitches because he kind of outperformed his stuff sometimes. And he talked about the late life and he was like, look at Colin Ray. And I was like, am I supposed to be looking like, am I supposed to have a deep knowledge of the late life on Colin Ray's pitches at this particular point in time? And now you see it though. Like there's some late movement with his stuff.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll do it for 3 Up, 3 Down. I don't have a lot else on the list other than Keston Hiura, our best friend. He was on the Tigers. We thought maybe he would get promoted before the Tiger series, and no, they let him go instead. Now he's with the Angels organization, and the Brewers are about to go
bring him home.
We need to see Keston Hiura or Craig Yoho. We'll take either one at this point. Craig Yoho again is shoving. Logan Henderson is shoving, as we've mentioned a couple times. The minor leagues, they've still been good. They've been very good, and they're a little fun. They're fun to pay attention to right now. I think the Timber Rattlers and the Mudcats, I think, are both on the cusp of a like division title or something.
The T-Rats clinched today. I think the Mudcats
Good.
lost maybe, so
yeah,
they still need to win one.
I mean, make no mistake. I don't think we really care, kind of, as Brewers people, if they win or lose their division, but like it doesn't hurt. It's nice, and all the players are good, so. That's nice. When is Cooper Pratt coming to Wisconsin, do you reckon? To Appleton, Wisconsin?
Oh, that should have been my Curt Blanche. We'll just talk about Cooper Pratt.
We could do that.
He's gone up in my rankings the last couple months. Like he kind of slid a tiny bit to start the year. I didn't like the swing decisions, but oh boy, he's cooking.
Back. Excellent. All right. Let's move into the past a little bit. We're going to go back in time. It's our weekly segment. Remembrew when. So we didn't talk about how Friday's game was like a Bill Schroeder festival. A lot of love for the former Brewers catcher, who's of course been a broadcaster now for 30 years. Rock, as they call him, had an incredible journey of former broadcasters that came through, which I loved. Jim Paschke was there for a home run call, which was awesome. Jim Paschke, of course, was doing this for a long time. He called the no-hitter that Juan Nieves threw in 1987, among other illustrious moments. Matt LePay stopped by. Darren Sutton was there, I believe. Matt Vescursion was in the booth. Love that. It was so cool. So it got me to thinking about moments in Bill Schroeder's career as a player. He played for a few years, of course, with the Brewers. Spent 1 year with the Angels. I'll be honest. There aren't many that really jump to mind, other than, of course, the thing that everyone associates with him, and that's being the catcher for Juan Nieves's no hitter. I'm not going to do Juan Nieves's no hitter. We've talked about that one before, but I am going to do this game on May 8th, 1984. It is the longest game in modern history in terms of time. It was a game between the Brewers and the White Sox at Comiskey Park. It went 8 hours and 6 minutes. It lasted 25 innings. Played over 2 days because they had to suspend it at 1 a.m. 14,000 fans, roughly, maybe 15,000 fans were on hand at Comiskey Park. They didn't even get resolution because the game had to be called and played the next day. They were deadlocked at 3-3. That was after 17 innings because the American League had a rule that you could not begin a new inning after 1 a.m. So they called it a night. They came back and they played a whole lot more. They played 25 innings. The Brewers had a 2-run lead in the 9th inning. Raleigh Fingers gives up a 2-out double, 2-out single, and those led to unearned runs because Tom Paciorek, who, by the way, is another announcer with the White Sox for a long time, Tom Paciorek had reached when Charlie Moore dropped a fly ball. That allowed the inning to continue. Randy Reddy also dropped a fly ball that allowed Harold Baines to stay alive and walk. That led to a run. So that was in like the 6th inning or something. So they're tied 3-3 through 9. The Brewers take the lead in the 21st inning on a 3-run homer by Ben Ogilvy. He finishes the game 2 for 10. Cecil Cooper was 2 for 11 in this game. Nobody really did well. Like Yount and Gantner were combined 5 of 20. Randy Reddy was 1 of 8. They left only 13 men on base. They didn't get on base very often. But after taking that 3-1 lead on Ogilvy's homer, Randy Reddy made another mistake. He had an error kicking off the bottom half. White Sox rally for 3 runs. Tom Paciorek again with a 2-run single to tie the game. So we keep going. In the bottom of the 25th, Harold Baines, future Hall of Famer, homers off Brewers reliever Chuck Porter. The game finally ends 7-6. The White Sox win in 25 innings. Again, 8 hours, 6 minutes. Tom Seaver, future Hall of Famer, he gets the win in relief and then starts the regularly scheduled game, works 8 1/3 innings for his second win of the day. He got 2 wins in the same day. Bringing it back to Bill Schroeder, he enters the game in the 13th. and ends up catching 13 innings. The 13th was a little abbreviated because that was the Harold Baines home run. He finishes 2 for 4 with a sacrifice. He did not end up catching in the nightcap, sadly, but enters in the 13th inning and still gets a double digits innings worth of work. He had taken Jim Sundberg's place. Sundberg actually had a really good game, I think. He had 3 hits in that game. He and I don't remember the other guy who had 3 hits. I think it might have been Robin Yount had 3 hits in the game, but nobody had 4 or 5. It was just crazy. A lot of 1, 2, 3 innings on both sides. Again, excuse me. Again, the longest game by time, anyway, in modern baseball history. Bill Schroeder was involved. Brewers did not win. Very sad. Okay, that's enough. Enough of the history lesson. Enough of the 3 up, 3 down. Let's close this thing down the way we do every week. It is with Curt's take of the week. Here it is. Curt Blanche.
What happened to the game I love?
Oh, God.
What happened to the giveaways I love?
Is this an old man thing?
What happened to free bobbleheads?
Were they not free when Sal Frelick?
No. Well, they were.
Okay.
To 30,000 fans.
That's normal.
No, it's not.
Sure.
You have been brainwashed by Big Bobblehead. Not really Big Bobblehead. Big Bobblehead would probably give you as many bobbleheads as you want, as long as the teams are paying for them. By Big Team. You've been brainwashed by Big Team.
There used to be all fan giveaways, I grant, and there's fewer of them this year.
There was 6 growing up. There was 6 all fan giveaways.
Yeah,
bobbleheads.
I think
all
people
year.
Down a little
now,
bit.
Granted, the Brewers, they stunk.
Yeah,
but why should the Brewers winning games change that?
There
should be more bobbleheads because there's more revenue.
Oh, I see what you mean. I
just don't love I don't love that there are, I think, 3 all fan giveaways, or not even all fan. I think there's 3 bobbleheads this year, and I don't think they're all fan anymore. They have the special ticket package bobbleheads.
Yes,
but that doesn't. I mean, those are nice. I'm sure if you purchase, those special tickets. But what happened to the game I love? Look at these bobbleheads behind me, JR.
I have bobbleheads behind me too. Now that I've adjusted,
I have got a Lyle Overbay bobblehead from 2005.
Oh, I have no idea. You think
declaring his single season franchise doubles record? Like that's the kind of thing that the people deserve.
Which bobblehead?
They deserve it 6 to 10 times a year. As penance for their loyalty.
I just think people have moved on. I don't think bobbleheads are. I think they've kind of hung on longer in Milwaukee than they have in a lot of places.
So what if we had to replace them? Let's replace them in the that spot of the Mad Lib.
Well, I mean, you saw like the
here.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen.
The answer is no, because they're not giving beer away for free.
It used to be that a bobblehead guaranteed a sellout in American Family Field. The Raleigh Fingers bobblehead was one of the worst experiences I've ever had trying to get to the stadium. It was insanity, and bobbleheads are always insanity. They're not that way anymore. I mean, you're probably going to sell out on a Saturday in June, but I don't think they move the needle to that degree anymore. I think if you gave away a bobblehead on, say, a Wednesday night.
Oh, now we're cooking. This is what we need. Do a bobblehead every homestand on a Wednesday or Tuesday night game.
Yeah.
Instead of getting 20,000, you'll get 35.
I don't know if I believe that. I think
the people deserve it.
30.
Nope. The people deserve it.
Okay. Which bobblehead is your favorite? I have a ton that I always look at that don't make the screen. I have like 3 shelves full of them over here. So my favorite is Greg Vaughn. Actually, I really dig the shades and the old school Brewers. He's like one of the few players that deserves to be a bobblehead from this era. What happened? What did you just drop a bobblehead? Curt, did you just drop a bobblehead?
Yes.
Which one? Which one?
No.
Who died?
Jesus Aguilar's dead.
Jesus Aguilar. No.
Curt? No, it's Carlos Gomez. It's not. It's Carlos Gomez. He's dead.
It's Carlos Gomez. Oh God, you decapitated Carlos Gomez. Wait, that's just all-star Carlos Gomez. There's another Carlos Gomez.
Yeah, this is. Oh no, I think I have another one of this one though. So.
Yeah, we're probably good here. It's fine. There's a better Carlos Gomez. There's the one where he's robbing a wall on a wall.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Oh, okay, but there's still another one after that. That's just the all-star. That's not. You're fine with that one. I can't believe a bobblehead died during this podcast, Curt. What?
Now I have a spot up there for Sal Frelick.
You got to get me a Sal Frelick. I don't have one. Will Sal Frelick will
There it is.
I wondered if his bobblehead would be the last homestand he played with the big league team for a while. I think he's still going to be here, of course, when they come back from the West Coast trip. But the Cecil Cooper one is really good too, with the pinstripes. I really like that one. I think you froze on me, Curt. Maybe not. I don't know. The bobblehead is dead. Curt, I lost you completely. This is a nightmare. We have to move on anyway. This is it. Oh, you're back. Welcome back. Any last?
I'm back, but we're done anyway. So Sal Frelick has replaced Carlos Gomez.
Sal Frelick is on the shelf. Somebody, Carlos Gomez died.
I'm so glad I wasn't on mute for that. That's
Carlos Gomez died, so Sal Frelick could live.
If you turned off this episode of Microbrew early, I feel bad for you.
Oh no, you decapitated.
We've gone off the rails.
It's the right Carlos Gomez to lose. That's all I'm saying. Which sounds so callous. We got to get out of here. This is ridiculous. Up next, I've got my interview with Danny Jansen. Again, Appleton West graduate, Appleton native, longtime big leaguer at this point, and having a really nice season with the Toronto Blue Jays. He was in town. Actually, his first big league game at American Family Field. He was not available the last time the Blue Jays were in town. So this was his first chance to play in front of some home fans. Granted, they see him in Chicago as well. Oh, there's Carlos. Oh, if you're seeing this on YouTube, Carlos is so dead. Jesus is safe though, right? You were worried about Aguilar initially. He's still up on the shelf. There he is, healthy and happy.
He's there. I was worried about dropping him.
They know they have a problem tomorrow. Okay, that's enough. Let's talk with Danny Jansen. Thanks for tuning into this edition of Microbrew. We really appreciate it. We will talk to you again next week. Bye, everybody.